it's Samantha from Samantha Designs. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you will stick around and maybe start watching some of my videos. I tend to do a lot of paper crafting, mostly cards, but sometimes other paper crafting items will work their way into my channel, or other crafting items, because I have been a crafter forever. I think since I was young. Anyway, welcome to my channel today. I hope you're having a good day. We are going to make a beautiful card. I was in the mood to do some playing around with some alcohol inks. So I am getting my acetate kind of prepared. This is Cricut acetate. It comes in big 12 by 12 sheets, and it has this protective backing that I struggle with, as you can tell, to get the backing off. I always have such a hard time with that. Anyway, I'm using two colors today. I am using Wild Plum and Watermelon. These are both by Ranger. I do not have a ton of alcohol inks. I think one of the things that I'm learning is that I don't have to have every color of everything. I'm also going to be using the blending solution by Ranger. I have a bulb syringe that I'm going to use to push the inks around with, just a piece of scrap paper, and then I've got a die that we're going to be using today. So I'm just going to start putting down the watermelon a few places here and there, and then using the bulb syringe to move it around some. Now, Ranger makes this really cool tool that does this probably much better than this, but I have really small hands, so this works fine for me. I don't need that the fancy tool. I think it's great. I think a lot of people would go, no, oh, it's great, it's wonderful, and that's fine, but this works really well for me. And I wasn't looking for perfection today. I was just, again, I just felt like playing around. So I've added some of the Wild Plum, and here's where I start using the blending solution to start kind of moving that color around where I want it to. That solution really helps kind of make things more malleable so that you can move it around. And as you can tell on the acetate, it'll even do some drips. Or at least that's what it looks like to me. So they're just kind of dripping around, which I really liked. I thought that was pretty cool. And I'm just trying to get it to the point where I really like it. One of the things I don't have in my stash that I wish I did was I don't have any of the metallic additives for the Ranger alcohol inks, and that's something I might want to add later, but I don't have any at this point, so it's all good. So I'm kind of finished with this. I like the way it looks. I'm letting it drip some more, and then I'm going to put it to the side and just let that dry. So then we're going to work on the rest of our card. Okay, now I have my butterfly die that I have in my stash. I'm going to do some partial die cutting. I'm showing you where the card base ends, and I'm only going to do below that just a little bit. And this is tough. I really had a tough time getting this started, but I have in my I'm using my Big Shot, and I have my metallic, what do you call that thing? The platform for the slim die, so they won't shift around if they're metal. I really like that. So I cut it out once on the card base, and then I'm taking 110-pound cardstock. This is a cream colored cardstock from Recollections, and I'm cutting that as well. My plan is to sandwich the acetate between the pink layer and this cream color layer. That's kind of how I envision this, and it works out pretty well, which is cool, because a lot of times I don't get things that work out really well. I have to kind of struggle with it. So once I have my two pieces out, I have a little brush that I use to kind of get all the pieces out. This is it, right here, and I use that to get everything out of the die and make sure it's going to do okay. So here you can see with the partial die cutting, I have this big spot at the top that's kind of left. So, and I'm showing you how I get it out of the die again, sorry. So I need to cut that away, because that's not going to work the way it is. So what I'm going to do is use my paper trimmer. I'm going to get it lined up, and then between the cuts, I'm going to just slice a little piece away. So I'm trying to make sure it's lined up in the right way. I'm going to sink my blade and then go down to the next point. And once I do that, I can just pop that right out, and it creates this really nice frame. It worked out wonderfully. I'm so proud of myself, because usually I have ideas in my head, but sometimes I can't execute them the way I want to. So I'm going to cut these little 2 strings off, because there is this kind of overhang. So this was a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. It's going to be a little smaller than that in the end, because I'm going to have to cut this down, because of course you don't want all that gaping stuff around the edges. That just doesn't look correct. And I'm making sure everything's going to line up when I use the other cream color die cut up on top of that. So here's where I start cutting it down to get everything nice and even, because you want the sides to be even as well. And I use my guillotine trimmer for this for the most part. I love this thing. It's by Fiskars as well, and it just does a great job, and it's small and compact, and it's easy to use. I would love to have a bigger one. In fact, that would be the next on my list, but I don't really have anywhere to put it. If I had anything bigger than this, it would just be too hard to house in my little small apartment. So I just kind of, deal with what I have. Couldn't get enough off the bottom, so I opened the card up to get that little last bit off. And then, lucky me, I keep tidying my workspace while we do this. It makes me feel better. And I see that edge, and I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. So I'm going to bring out the guillotine trimmer again, because I've got to get that lined up. I don't like that. Okay, that's much, much better. Much, much better. So now we've got to get our acetate piece kind of laid down, right? Because, again, my plan is to sandwich between the two. I'm getting out a couple of little pieces that were still there. And I am going to use score tape to do this, at least for the acetate part. You'll see what I do when I put the cream card stock on top of it. But I'm going to use score tape because I know it's really strong. It'll hold it down. And I'm going to open up the card base to get the tape exactly where I want it to be. I was afraid if I left it closed, I would not get my tape where I needed it to be. So the lovely part about score tape is that it holds really strong, but it's easily torn. As you can see, I'm sure all of you have this or something similar in your stash. So then, of course, got to get off the backing paper, which can also be a struggle. Do you have problems getting it off the backing paper? Because I seem to every time. I don't know if it's just me or when I'm on camera I get nervous. I don't know. Because I know that eventually this is going to be on YouTube, so I think nervousness is part of it. But anyway, I digress. So we're just getting off this last little backer piece, and then we're going to put the acetate on. Now, I looked at it, and I wasn't really worried about, cutting it off or having it cut off before I put it on there. I decided just to lay it where I wanted it first, and then I would just trim off whatever is the excess. That was my plan. So that's exactly what I did. I just trimmed off everything else once we had it where I wanted it. So just cutting off the sides and the bottom of this piece. So now the pink gets kind of covered up, which is why I wanted the cream colored piece to go on top. And I could have used pink to keep it pink. I just decided I wanted it a contrasting color. So again, using the score tape around the edges, because that really is the nice thing about this particular die, is it's perfect for this score tape. And then I like to press this down, and then I'm going to use my almost crap on in the middle section. And not only that, so you're going to see me put all these little dots of glue everywhere, but then I take off the release paper and I put glue on the release paper. I'm not sure why I felt like I needed both, but evidently I felt like I needed both. The nice thing about using the liquid glue is that you have the time to wiggle it around to make sure it's where you want it to be, make sure it's all lined up, all of that. I don't know that I really needed the tape on top of that. I think that might have been a little bit overkill, but it made me feel better. So I used both. But not sure, but really, I don't think I really needed the tape. But like I said, it made me feel better. So I'm going with it. I'm going to put on some glue and just say, give me the wiggle time and thank you for your service. I'm being really silly today. Can you tell? Okay, so I'm going to use my little reverse tweezers to help me pick this up because now I'm scared I'm going to get glue everywhere and that I'm not going to get it straight because that would be the typical. Lining up the bottom and then putting it on, and then I'm just going to make sure it is lined up. And then the trick that everyone does, put something heavy on it and just let it dry. That's the big thing. Moving on to my sentiment, I am using the June Spellbinders kit. I just got my July one, I haven't touched it yet, but my June Spellbinders kit, and I am going to use a cute little sentiment that says, wishing your day, oh my goodness, I know this and I can't remember. One moment, please. The sentiment says, I hope your day is filled with hugs and smiles. Because who would not want that for someone? I want my day filled with hugs and smiles every day. So, I did that with Memento Tuxedo Black ink on just a piece of cardstock that matches, and I'm going to cut this down. So I'm just going to where it's pretty even, and then I'm going to go from there. So my plan is to run that along the butterfly, but I want silver cardstock as a border piece or as something that's gives the sentiment a border. And I really like this silver. This is also Recollections. I'm a big fan of Recollections cardstock. So I end up cutting this. It took me a couple of tries to get it the right width. But then I'm going to cut two of them. And the reason I'm going to cut two of them is I'm going to put one of them on the inside of the card, because even though you can't see much of it, the other side of this silver cardstock is a khaki, or not khaki, what am I saying, khaki? I guess khaki cardstock on the other side of it, and I don't want you to see that when you open the card. I didn't like the way that looked, so I'm going to use the other silver piece to kind of cover that up so you don't see it. And you see me using the card there to figure out, okay, what length do I need for this card? And so that's what I'm doing there. I'm just using that as a measurement. And yeah, cutting both of them. And then the sentiment, I want that kind of centered, so I'm going to take a little bit off the side. Now, I'm usually someone who just kind of eyeballs things and goes with it, but at this point I have invested a lot of time in this card. So I want this to have the correct border placement. And I'm doing something very uncharacteristic. I am marking it with a pencil where I need to cut. Now, people who do woodworking, you measure twice, cut once. That should go in paper crafting. I just don't ever do it. And the fact that I did it for this card is amazing, because that is not my typical. My typical is, oh, this is about right. And then I do it and go, oh, that's a little short. Oh, well, that's good enough. And then I move on. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but I am, I'm not usually very precise. with that kind of thing. So I'm very proud. So I'm just going to use my Elmer's Scrap On to stick this on my silver piece here. And that's going to be good to go. And then I'm going to put this on the front of the card. I got to figure out exactly where I want it. And I kind of go with the bottom third. I thought that looked great. And when I'm sticking this onto the card, I'm only going to glue it on the sides. I'm not doing, along the way. I didn't want any glue showing through to the other side. Okay, and then I'm going to do another uncharacteristic thing. Cannot believe I got my T-ruler out to make sure it's straight. I don't ever do that either. I'm so proud. I did a lot of strange things with this card, I'm telling you. So on the inside, like I said, I'm going to take that silver piece because you can see a little bit of the khaki showing through, and I'm just going to plop that right down and cover that up with another piece of silver. It kind of makes it a little more finished, and I really like that. And that's pretty much the card, guys. You're going to see me playing with this because I got glue on it and all this good stuff. But I really hope that you'll stick around and come back and see another video. Please think about subscribing. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me some comments. I really like to hear your comments. And I'm going to fix this because I did not use my T-ruler on this side. I realize it's not exactly straight. And that glue showing. I don't like the glue showing. So I'm going to use a baby wipe to get that out of the way. But come back anytime, guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed the card. I had fun making it. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.